Well, in a first visit by an Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi today will reach Tel Aviv, Israel, where Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will greet him at the airport. In a three-day visit, terrorism and defense deals will top agenda. The most significant deal on the table is a $400 million deal for India's first armed drones. Here's the full report.
As India and Israel make history this week, with the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to the Jewish state, the two nations are taking their very solid defense ties to a historic new level. Israel had signed up to supply India with its first ever drones capable of missile strikes, very much like the American Predator and Reaper drones in Afghanistan, Pakistan and Iraq. In 2015, India cleared a $400 million deal for 10 Israeli aerospace Heron TP drones known in their country as ETAN. The drones will come armed with missiles to strike targets with surgical precision at safe ranges, negating the need to endanger the lives of Indian Air Force pilots and larger aircraft. The Indian military has been captivated for years by the capabilities demonstrated by the US Predator drones on the Afghan-Pakistan border and has longed to at least have the option of wielding such weapon systems against terror camps across the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. While the Indian Army conducted a blistering surgical strike last year on Pakistani terror launch pads in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, more than 45 terror camps still flourish across the line of control. While airstrikes with human pilots are difficult and dangerous, drone strikes are more conceivable in the circumstances. The drones, locked down in a quiet deal by Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government in 2015, gives India's military planners its first long-endurance drones, capable of 30-hour-long flights for intelligence and reconnaissance, and for the first time, deployment of weaponry to destroy targets on ground and fly autonomously back to base. The acquisition of the Heron TP combat aerial vehicles will be a game changer for India in this region. It will be a big asset in the war on Pakistan-sponsored terror. But these combat unmanned aerial vehicles are not the only acquisition from Israel that will change the face of India's relationship with that country. Short-range surface-to-air missile, MRSAMs, medium-range surface-to-air missile and quick-reaction surface-to-air missiles are also being talked about. With Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Israel, deliveries of the game-changer drones could begin any day now. As India gets set for a historic, though controversial new capability, the country's enemies will be watching. With Padmaja Joshi in Israel, Bureau Report, India Today.
So what is the defense deal looking like that India is going to sign with Israel? My colleague Gaurav Sawant just filed this report.
The game changer. India is all set to acquire the Heron TP unmanned combat aerial vehicles from Israel. Deal signed in 2015, delivery to start anytime now. Why is this such a potent weapon platform? Because no other country was willing to sell India the Predator drones or the equivalent, the Heron TPs. You can bomb enemy targets, terrorist training camps in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir without risking the lives of combat pilots of the Indian Air Force. Apart from that, India also acquiring 2 airborne early warning systems, giving India an eye in the sky. Again, not country specific, but very, very important for India. Rifles for India's soldiers, unmanned combat aerial vehicles apart, these rifles again will be a game changer. The Israeli special forces use it and these rifles will be manufactured in India. So the numbers game is in India's favor. The smart fences, 770-kilometer long line of control, 500-kilometer long already fenced. But these smart fences and sensors, not just at LOC, but also the international border with Pakistan, with other countries, lasers, very, very big for India. Then blue flag exercises. The Indian Air Force will participate in these exercises, which are extremely crucial, not just in anti-terrorist operations, but also quick response to eliminate the threat in the sky.
Prime Minister also said that he's looking forward to Prime Minister Modi's historic visit, calling him my friend Modi.
מחר יגיע לישראל נרנדרה מודי ידידי, ראש ממשלת הודו, הדמוקרטיה הגדולה ביותר בעולם. וזהו ביקור היסטורי וראשון של ראש ממשלה של הודו בישראל אחרי 70 שנה. וזה ביטוי לכך שהיחסים בינינו לבין הודו הולכים ומתהדקים בשנים האחרונות. זה פרי מדיניות יזומה.
All right, now Prime Minister Modi has come under fire for skipping a visit to Ramallah, the seat of the Palestinian Authority, during his visit to Israel. A lot of political commentary back home.
Seeing that the Indian Prime Minister is visiting to Israel for the first time, for 3 days he is going to be accosted by the Israeli Premier, and the Prime Minister has no time to go and meet the Palestinians. Why? I mean, this has been a continuous policy of various governments which are in power. That is why I say that the connection over here, though we have a 50 billion trade with Israel excluding arms, and Israel has been, in United Nations Human Rights Council have shown that Israel is involved in criminal actions, but we still abstain from voting against Israel. We are going to sign many agreements with Israel. What are those defense agreements? With which companies who have been blacklisted for kickbacks? When Mr. Modi says, "Na khaunga, na khane dunga," then why is he giving those contracts to those companies which are involved in kickbacks?
President Pranab Mukherjee, he also visited Jerusalem as well as Palestine also. Sushma ji went there, met the leaders of the Palestine there. And India has also departed from the basic principles of non-alignment. Therefore, bad days are ahead for poor Palestine, whose 3 generations are living in tent. And as the major aggressor, Israel is getting respectability day by day.
Indian stood by Palestine for a historical reason. But now after Modi came to power, he is changing the basic tenets of our foreign policy, and he is trying to become a second partner, a junior partner of America. His main purpose of the foreign policy to make India a junior partner of Trump in America.
All right, so a lot of press on both sides, India and Israel. I'm joined right now by Ayla Deckel. She's a journalist. Along with her is advocate Benjamin Grossman. Ayla, thank you for joining us on India Today. Of course, both countries closely following this meeting, which will take place in Tel Aviv. What kind of press are you picking up where Israel is concerned? And I believe in just about 2 hours from now, the Indian Prime Minister would land.
Well, everybody here are very excited. I would even say thrilled about this visit. As you may know, the visit was planned for a long time, more than a year. I think it's some kind of declaration through the upgradation of the relationships which we feel for quite a long time. Before this visit, there was some very high bureaucrats on the Indian side to prepare the meeting. So it's like I would say, political Super Bowl in Israel. I think that it's not lesser than what we had here when President Trump came here a few weeks ago. Modi is perceived as a very charismatic leader of India, and India is perceived as a very important strategic alliance of Israel. The combination of both creates a very high presence and a very high attention to this visit. With Prime Minister Modi, there is a big delegation of top CEOs from India and from Israel also. So I think this is a kind of materialization of very long anticipation for this meeting. And from now, I think that the sky is the limit. There's a very good sentiment for India and Israel always, but now it's very transparent.
Ayla, how is Israel looking at this? Because, of course, over the next 3 days, the headlines will scream about defense deal, agriculture ties, irrigation ties. All that gloss will make headlines. But on the other hand, is Israel also looking at this at a strategic shift where India's foreign policy towards Israel is concerned?
Yes, absolutely. All the Israelis journalists and all the paper, almost for 2 weeks we are talking about this historical visit. So we are very exciting, and
yes, the attention is very high and positive. Today in the newspapers in Hebrew, so I don't know how we can show it in your show. But all the papers and all the TV shows open with this visit to Israel. I think the next 48 or 50 hours in which Prime Minister Modi will be here, I think this is going to be the top of the coverage here in Israel. But beyond that, we know that several MOUs going to be signed between the governments, and as always it happens in such a high-profile visits, this will be a breakthrough of new deals and new arrangements. By the way, not only defense. I think that it's going to be more on non-defense than defense only. About defense deals we hear all the time. But about here's going to be more agriculture. The first visit of Prime Minister Modi right from the airplane before he even reached the hotel in Jerusalem is going to be some sophisticated agriculture company on the way to Jerusalem. We also know that he's going to pay great attention not only to defense. And this is a very refreshing attitude, because I think Israel is much more to offer than defense. And on the other hand, we will see more and more Israeli companies and Indian companies collaborating on the lower level, not on the big five or the big six. The enthusiasm is from all levels. It's not only about the big companies, but everybody in the street. There is a movie that has been taken in Jerusalem, I think 2 or 3 days ago, that people in the street celebrating that and addressing the visit. So it's a very common, happiness of everybody that Modi is coming. And
right.
I think we'll see the after visit effects for quite some time.
Right. Benjamin, of course, you took us through the massive defense deals, what's in the offing, agriculture tie-ups, irrigation. Of course, India looking at Israel to help it through that. But terror is one situation or one agenda rather, that both countries share exactly the same fate. Now, do you reckon the next 3 days we'll have very strong worded statements coming out jointly by both countries where terror comes into play?
Yes, I think that this unfortunate common war common battle with the terrorism is not something that started in this visit. Even in the attack in Mumbai a few years ago, Israel addressed that we are willing to cooperate with this anti-terror war or campaign. Usually, obviously some of the joint efforts are not very open to the public, obviously. But yes, since we are sharing the same values as two democracies, we also unfortunately sharing the same unfortunate phenomena of terror, both from Islamic extremists and so on. So I'm sure that this collaboration, anti-terror collaboration, will go on and even more intense. But beyond anti-terror, I think that we are more happy about the positive efforts, not only about the anti-terror, but yes, the joint fate, I would say, is democracies that has to deal with terror. Yes, it is something which is lays in the impact of the relationship for quite some time. Yes.
All right, Benjamin Grossman, thank you there in Islet. We, of course, would like to be joined by you later through the course of the day. What we are expecting is just about 2 hours from now.